Welcome back once again to the lockdown sessions. I'm here with the Beast Man. Now I gotta lower it down. I've been rewatching some of my lockdowns, and it sounds like I'm screaming at the beginning. So I'm gonna lower the tone. But we are brought to you by True Heel Heat Podcast, one of the better podcasts out there, the best podcast out there for pro wrestling. I always tell everybody, if you got one new wrestling podcast that you want to listen to this week, make it True Heel Heat. If you got time for two, listen to our very own Wrestling Travel podcast as we are trying to dabble in it. But Beastman, welcome to the lockdown sessions.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. This is like our late night lockdown sessions. I usually run these during the day. Our schedule's worked out late at night, so we got the late night edition. So we are talking to you. We're excited to talk to you because you are on the verge in the next few days of appearing at Warrior Wrestling on Fight TV. Friday Night Lights. So before we get into all that, we got to go in the Wayback Machine and get a little history. So Beastman, how long have you been in the business?
I have been in the business since early. If you want to be technical, I've been in wrestling since 2006, but I started getting involved in the business around 2003.
Okay, explain that to me. What happens in 2003?
Mainly, that's when I started wanting to go to the local indie shows around where I live at. I lived in West Virginia growing up, so there really wasn't a lot of big indie shows. We would have to travel up to Pittsburgh for stuff like that. And then when I was a sophomore in high school, there was a small indie company that brought a show to Wheeling. I grew up in Wheeling, West Virginia. So me and my friends went to the show. Afterwards, when everything was done, the guy with the ring, I asked him, "Hey, what do I got to do to get in the ring and do goof around?" He's like, "You got to help me tear it down." So 14 years old, I helped tear down my first wrestling ring, got in the ring, been obsessed with it since then, and just been kind of slowly but surely paying my dues, just to be able to get ring time, just being able to learn how to bump, run the ropes, learn how the general basics. But I really, the first, from 04 to 05, 03 to 05, kind of really didn't have I was kind of self-trained in a way, because the guy that said he would train me didn't know what he was doing himself. So from 05 to 06, I went to a wrestling school in Pittsburgh, but the trainer actually left the school and started training people in the owner of Black Diamond Wrestling's garage. That's Black Diamond is my home promotion, and basically from this January till August, every Sunday, with a ring that's half outside, half inside, learn my basics, learn how to train, learn how to work my holds. And when about 2000, I started working in 06, and then about 2010, I went to Jimmy Valiant's wrestling school in Virginia for about a year to really fine-tune my stuff in the ring, my psychology, and everything in between there to be able to really kind of sizzle me up, if you know what I mean. But
yeah, that's awesome. Now, that's wrestling training to me. When you're talking about my ring's half inside, half outside, and it's January, I mean, that's the hard life right there. I remember training in February in a garage with one little space heater, and it's like hitting the concrete.
Hey, you were trained by Eddie Sharkey, though, man. I'm jealous about that. So
Eddie was in there. Brad Kohler and Terry Fox were always around, and they always had people dropping by, which is very cool.
That's great. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead. We always got a delay. You're the guest. Don't let me get caught up in my silly stories.
What sucked about was we'd be doing holds, and then especially when there was snow coming in, we'd have to stop. We'd be working, and then we'd have to stop to shovel the snow out of the ring and go back to start working again. Then we'd have to go out. same thing. We have to go out, shovel snow around outside, snow outside the ring, so we didn't like break our ankles while we were running or anything like that.
For an old guy like me, that's awesome. That just sounds like wrestling to me. I took our owner and founder, Lee McAteer. We were on a tour of Canada for another part of the business, and I said, "Hey, have you ever seen wrestling training?" Obviously the company is made up of people who are pro wrestling fans. Well, yeah, he said I was invited to the NXT UK training center. I said, no. Let me go show you wrestling training. And I called up. We went and watched Northern Championship Wrestling train up in Montreal on one of the hottest, most humid days in a room that is just big enough to fit the ring, and watch the guys and girls tear it up. Now, the funny thing, and I'll get back to you, is I had not been at like training camp since 1997. This was done completely in French. And as I'm watching it, I'm understanding everything that Jeff Rossett is saying to his kids just because of, the language of pro wrestling. It was one of the most surreal and cool experiences of my life, watching guys train in French. You went to Jimmy Valiant, though, for a little polishing, though. How was that?
It was great, man. Hold on a second here. Going in, like, the school is actually in his house. It's like his house is right beside the school. And it's in the middle of nowhere in Shawsville, Virginia. It's like a suburb of Roanoke. And you go in, he has, it's like a Hall of Fame museum slash wrestling school. And it's like every Sunday, there's like different people there every week. You have the same training class there, but then there'll be people that used to go to Boogie school, or people that wanted to come and check out the school and see Boogie, or people coming and rolling. It literally was I would say a tourist attraction more than anything, because he always kept like adding on new stuff while we were there and putting up more. Like, he had basically a museum of all of like his pictures from his career, and like people like he had Andre the Giant's trunks that was in there. That was pretty neat. And like his Hall of Fame plaque and like different stuff. And there'd be like there'd be two locker rooms for the people to train in. If you walk in, there's like pictures of students and like pictures of people that he knew around his career. Then when you go inside to the actual, like, the shed is what we called it, with the ring, it's like all of his like tights from when he started, like from NWA, from Memphis. He had cut out like cardboard, like, the cutout, like the life-size cutouts. He had them with his trainers and stuff like that. It was interesting, but the training itself was basic bumps and rolls. He'd get in there and teach you how to do an arm lock, like an arm bar and stuff like that. And it was good, man. Like, I got to really learn a lot that's where I really got the sizzle and fine-tune myself. And I also learned how to hustle. Like, Boogie is really big on hustling. Like, hustling for $1. He taught me really well how to hustle for $1. So I thank him for that.
I remember I was out in Pennsylvania for a number of years, and must have been on social media somewhere. I saw that Jimmy had something that said, "Hey, here's the address to my house. As a thank you, come on down on a Sunday and say hey and visit." And I'm like, man, I got to make that drive. And I never did, because I've never met him, but that would have been cool. But now to get your side of the story, kind of how he was doing that.
Funny story about that. I got that same thank you letter. I added him when I changed Facebooks like a while back. I sent him a friend request. He added, and he said, like, I've known him for years, and we talk every once in a while. But he sent me the same message. "Oh, thank you for coming, brother. You should come and see. You should come and check out the school one day." I wrote, like, "Boogie, it's wet. It's Beast, man. Oh, sorry, Beast. I didn't know." Because his wife, Angel, usually is the one that handles the Facebook and stuff like that.
Okay, yeah, I couldn't remember where I saw that, but I thought, well, that's kind of a cool gimmick, But I mean, you're inviting weirdos down there, but I imagine
Yeah.
Boogie makes $1 out of that, inviting you down to his house, and but still would have been a cool experience. And that's, from one of the best in the business. And you can attest to this. Pro wrestling, as physical as it is, and I hate when people use the F word because it's not. You're putting your body on the line every time you go out there. The outcomes may be determined a little bit ahead of time, possibly. Don't want to ruin the illusion, but it's mental. It's a mental game.
Yeah.
And learning from somebody of the best, just that psychology, that slow it down, just having somebody being able to break down a match and like, here's how you should have done it. Here's how you play to the crowd. Here's how you would play to the camera. You got a lot of wheels turning when you're in the ring. Agreed, right?
Oh, agree 100%, man.
Because when I was training, they were saying, hey, we've had Olympic caliber athletes not be able to do this. And it is because you might have the physical tools, check. You got to have the mental capacity to know what the heck you're doing and to be thinking along with your partner in the ring on the same page. You got to be able to play to that crowd. You got to be able to withstand pain. And I'm a big guy. My wind was always a problem. When I was younger, it was better. But, man, the average guy looks down at pro wrestling, and it's like, man, there's so much that goes in to what is done in that ring that a lot of people will never know.
No one will never understand unless they did it themselves.
100%. It's like that Monday morning quarterback.
Yep.
I'm glad there's going to be a lot of people on the internet watching this. But the one thing, when I open the internet, the Twitter, in the morning after a pay-per-view, so many people shitting on a lot of stuff that's like, okay, there's some stuff I shit on too, because I've got that old mentality of a lot of stuff should make sense, but I just can't stand it when it's a bunch of.
Yep.
Shouldn't get in on that, but I kind of do. You get caught up in like, man, there's so much going into it, so much respect. Speaking of, you're probably a guy who's performed in front of a less than sold out crowd and probably some bigger crowds. What do you think of this? Lately, we've got no fans. They're starting to bring a little bit limited fans into WWE. But watching pro wrestling with no fans, for me, was tough and just goes to show you what a big part of the show that they are. How are you finding watching some of these? Of course, now they're letting some training people in there in the audience, but were you having trouble digesting it like I was?
I'll be honest with you. I rarely don't watch TV wrestling anymore, just because of how it's gone over the years. It's, for me, I'll watch it every now and then, but it's a weird feeling just watching it with no one there or no crowd reaction, and how they're working around and how they're working around that. It's very weird to see that. Like watching at home, it's like watching a training match at a wrestling school, basically.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. I was like, as a guy who's working with wrestling travel and trying to follow everything, I mean, it's just tough to follow, and it's not on the guys and the girls. It just is what it is. It's just without the crowd. It's just really hard to, like you said, training match. You're putting it exactly how I feel. It's like, okay. How about the other thing? I wanted to like them, and I gave them some proppers, as the kids say, some props. But now I'm falling out of. I wasn't in love with them, but these cinematic matches. Did you get a chance to watch any of those, or did you stay away?
Yes. Well, obviously, I watched WrestleMania. The Boneyard match was amazing. I think it's great for that occasion, but that's something you need to do. I personally think that's something you need to do once a blue moon. Like when Matt Hardy and Bray Wyatt did their match, that was great. Fast forward 2 years later, every pay-per-view is doing it now. Honestly, it's being overdone already. I mean, when you have to go from WWE basically jumped the shark with with them trying to pop out Rey Mysterio's eye. You know what I mean? Like that was too much.
Yeah, and it was like you didn't. Whoever thought that up didn't. You got to think your way out of stuff as well as you think your way into stuff. And I was sold when I was a little kid on wrestling. I did not know, and I'll be honest with you right here, until I walked into training school. You know, when you get a little older and kind of, oh yeah, this must all be not on the up and up. Yep. I'm shitting myself going, well, I kind of hope it is, because I'm not, am I going to have to fight tonight or what? What am I going to have to do? So the believability, I want to suspend my belief just as if I'm watching a movie, as if I'm watching anything else. So when you come with, hey, you come right out and say, hey, the winner extracts the opponent's eye, you've lost me. You know, I can't go on that ride with you.
No, you're exposing. I hate to say the word expose, but you know they're exposing the business by doing that shit. You know what I mean? I can see why. I don't know how you feel about Jim Cornette, but I can see why he's always ranting all the time about shit like that. You know?
I love Jim Cornette. Jim Cornette gets a little political for me on the actual politics, which I don't talk politics with anybody. I was up in Canada last summer, checked in a hotel, and the guy goes, oh, you're American. Let me tell you about Trump. I'm like, what do you feel about Trump? I'm like, brother, there's no way talking politics with anybody's going to end up as a fun night. It is what it is.
No, not at all.
Jim Cornette's views on the business, I find myself going, yeah, 100%. 100%. And the guys that support some of this craziness, if they would just if the Cornette side and the other side would just take a time to step outside and actually listen to each other, the business would become much better, in my opinion.
I agree.
Now, I talked about being a young man growing up watching pro wrestling. AWA over here in Wisconsin, my favorite promotion. Oh, when you're a young beast man, when you're a beast boy, when you're starting to watch wrestling, who catches your eye?
Well, I first started watching wrestling in '88, from what I can remember. And obviously Hulk Hogan, like being up on the eastern part of the United States, obviously Hulk Hogan. I remember going to my first like WWF house show, 5, and Hulk Hogan was wrestling Sergeant Slaughter. I thought it's just going to see him was like the greatest thing in the world. And I remember I remember this very well. The first match on the show, I didn't know how great it was back then. Now it was Mr. Perfect versus Bret Hart. And yeah, it was a great match. And well, like back then, I'm like, hey, Bret Man, let's go, Hitman. And didn't know, like obviously 5, you don't understand like who the greats were in the business. Like Hulk Hogan to me was like the greatest thing ever, and still is in my opinion. But some people choose the other way, but it's okay. And just growing up, like it just for me, everybody says, "Oh, we have that one." I've always like from here to now. Like for me, it was like growing up. It was like different eras. Like it was Hulk Hogan. Then it was Hulk Hogan growing up. Even when he was in WCW, still loved him. Then like I started becoming Mick Foley, because Mick Foley kind of reminds me of like me when I was a kid, like being the underdog guy, like being the bigger dude. No one's like can't do this. He went out and did it. Then when getting into the wrestling business, then you're starting to watch guys of who you're developing your character and your style around, like me, like with Kamala, Bruiser Brody, Abdullah the Butcher, guys like them, and then starting to watch the Japanese stuff and watching Misawa Jumbo Tsuruta, Kobayashi, and stuff like that. It's to me, it's sorry for talking way too much about. Like, I get excited about talking about wrestling.
I get excited too, and I'd rather have somebody talk than me. And I always feel like sometimes I get on a tangent. So you go. I'm loving it.
You there?
We're there.
All right. My phone said I had 20% left, but no, I'll be all right. Yeah, it was like just growing, like Hulk Hogan growing up, and then just I loved like Hulkamania, the energy. I loved his energy. That's why I loved it. And then that's what made me fall in love with wrestling. And then just growing up and just keep watching it, and can't ask for anything better.
Two things out of that conversation. You got to see Bret Hart and Kurt Hennig when you were younger, and you're talking about being 5 and not understanding it. I'm at the Knight Center in Miami. I'm probably 14 years old, 1989. And I remember watching it but not thinking anything of it because I'm just, wow. It was Eddie Gilbert versus the Great Muta I saw live. And I'm like, man, because I look back on some website, you can find out everything. And there's a lot of matches that like these house shows. Somewhere, I'm hoping they have them secretly taped and eventually would be released, but it probably would happen now, by now, if anything. But yeah, there's been some great house show matches. And I had a second point to that. And as a great journalist like I am, I've lost it. So it'll eventually return to me if I ramble on long enough. You're at 20%.
You were talking about. Sorry, bud.
No, you go.
No, you were talking about who was your favorite when you were watching AWA?
Oh, it's Greg Gagne. Greg Gagne is my
Gagne?
favorite. You know why? And I grew up because Greg Gagne, and it was post High Flyers with Jim Brunzell, but it was Greg Gagne during that Rambo era, and he's training with Sergeant Slaughter. And that was one of the first things. You can catch that on YouTube, that Sergeant Slaughter, Camp Slaughter, Greg Gagne bit. And then
I'll have to catch it.
Yeah, it's awesome because they're obviously out in Minnesota, but at the end of the training, it's like a 5-minute clip, and Slaughter's going to the camera. They're outside, and Greg's holding this rock that's like this big, and you can just see him. And Slaughter's going on, and finally goes, "Oh yeah, drop that rock, Greg. The training is over." But if you watch it over and over like I have, you could see Greg going, "All right, starting to get heavy here." So it's a great clip.
Yeah. Did you ever watch the Wrestle Rock Rumble?
Yeah. The music video?
No, did you ever get to watch the actual show?
Oh yeah, I've got it. And I think it might be on the network, but I tape trader, DVD trader. Oh yeah, I had to get that.
I've been looking for that for years. I can't find it anywhere.
Wrestle Rock 86?
Yeah. I've been looking. I can't find it on YouTube, Daily Motion, or anything. I even tried to do the torrent sites. I can't find it.
Bro, I will. I don't know if I have a way to duplicate it, but I will get it to you, if not on Friday. It's not the best quality, but I've got it. And
it doesn't have to be great. As long as I get to see it once, I'll be happy. Does it live the hype like the music video?
Oh, I think it's better. It's got that whole NWA, AWA kind of crossover at the Metrodome. Unfortunately, I don't think the DVD includes the post-event concert with Waylon Jennings, but it's got, everything you need in there. It's got all the matches. A little fuzzy. Okay. I will try to dig that out and figure out how I can get a copy to you, because I'll tell you what, if you start talking AWA with me, you're my best friend, whether you like it or not.
We can talk AWA all day, man.
If you get a chance, the listeners are like, why are we even listening to this? Go watch my lockdown session that I did with Nikita Koloff.
Okay.
Because as a lack of journalist that I am, I talk about, I kind of go down a black hole in the YouTube like we do. And I'm watching 1985 at Comiskey Park in Chicago. A young Nikita Koloff is teamed up with Ivan Koloff, Barry Darsow as Crusher Khrushchev. They're in the ring with Baron von Raschke, Dick the Bruiser and the Crusher. And I was asking Nikita purposely, I'm like, listen, everybody wants to ask you about the best of 7 with Magnum. I want to talk to you about this. You know, I'm looking at it like even now, even including Nikita, these are all legends. He starts telling me a story about Dick the Bruiser during that match. You know, here's a young, in shape dude, and he's wondering, you know, these old guys come to the ring in his eyes, and they're getting this huge pop. He says Dick the Bruiser is throwing punches, straight punches at him. But as he's doing it, Dick's going, rat-a-tat-tat, rat-a-tat-tat, actually making that noise. And it's a funny story. It's worth digging up in my interview.
I'll have to check it out.
I love that. I love, you talk about watching wrestling in 1988, Super Clash 3. Oh, Lawler
I watched
versus
that one.
Dude, I love it.
Love
it. And I love, a lot of those are on the network. Yeah, in fact, if I ever can find anybody that has a connection with Greg Gagne, that would be my dream interview. Met him a lot of times when I was a kid, but I would love to be able to just sit down and have a lockdown session with them. So yeah, we'll talk AWA on Friday. I'll see if I can't bring that down. I'll figure out how to make a copy of it. But let's talk about Friday before we run the phone battery. You are in the Spartan Stadium Stampede Scramble with, I believe, 9 other competitors. And the Beast Man, you look to be the big man of the bunch. What's your strategy going in there?
Well, strategy is this. I'm going in there to get some eyes on me in that match, because there's a lot of guys like Dan the Dad, Warhorse, guys that have that little bit of national notoriety. And, you know, I'm going into this with nothing to lose. I really got nothing to lose. Like, I've had some big matches in my career. Been in the first ever Bruiser Brody Cup in Philadelphia. That was a fun experience. Being able to travel the country, doing what I love to do, but it's shows like this that really want me to show people, all my haters over the years, that I couldn't do this, what I'm capable of doing. I should be in that spot. So I'm here to. So it's Friday night. There's going to be a lot of throwing people around. There's going to be a lot of blood, a lot of sweat, and a lot of tears. But I'm going to come out of that thing victorious. I can promise you that.
Love hearing it. And Friday Night Lights, you're under the lights, outdoor stadium, and it's got to be the most stacked card from top to bottom that I've seen in a long time. Warrior Wrestling does awesome at that. How do you feel about being in this football stadium, Friday Night Lights? And I just saw the forecast, 75, 70 degrees during the day. Should be a perfect night for wrestling.
Good, I won't get blown up then. So,
well, never say never, right?
Yeah, exactly. You know, for me, it's I can't really sum it up in like a phrase or anything like that, because it's just great to be there. Like, I'm just excited to have this opportunity to be a part of it. Warrior Wrestling has been somewhere, like someplace I've wanted to go since they started. I got to thank Sam Adonis for getting me in contact with him. He's really, like, Sam's been one of these guys that's helped me out over the years. Like, literally, I consider him a great friend and a mentor. I'm just excited. Like, I'm thrilled. I'm honestly thrilled. You know, like, this is something that, especially now, like, I have been sitting at home for months. Like, I miss being on the road. I miss being in the ring. And I got a lot of anger from this coronavirus that I'm ready to let out. And I promise you one thing. The fans, the Warrior Wrestling, are not going to expect what they're going to see out of me. Because the 6'2", 430 pounds, I'm probably going to be the lightest guy in that ring and the fastest guy in that ring.
And I want to tell everybody here, we're getting a very calm, subdued Beast Man, kind of a behind the scenes. It's late at night. This is not what you're going to see when he turns up. I mean, you're going to see the Beastman personified. And speaking of haters that were like, hey, did he make it? Guess what? If your haters can't make it to Chicago, they can watch you live on Fight TV that night.
Yep.
That's got to be a great stick it to them moment. Live on Fight TV. And then you're going to be later on the High Spots Network in this program with Warrior Wrestling is quickly becoming a premier independent organization. Yep. I love that you're okay. Well, let me ask you this. I know all we want to do is talk about your match because it's going to be huge. But from big man to big man, we're going to be there watching Brian Cage versus Jeff Cobb. Dude, I'm sitting down to watch that no matter where I am. That's just two big beasts going at it. I cannot wait for that. And unlike two big beasts of our era, let's say our favorite era, it's not like Abdullah versus King Kong Bundy. These
it's not.
Big boys can fly too. You got a lot of mass moving fast at each other. It's going to be the epicenter of if there's anything going on the Richter scale out of the middle of Chicago, it's coming from that stadium.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's not many words you can say about that match. I mean, it's just you gotta see it you're gonna have to order it on iPay-per-view. You're gonna be there to see it for yourself. It's gonna be that's a match that I'm speechless about. So
that's what it doesn't Cornette call it. That's a locker room sellout match.
Yep.
That's where everybody's taking a look at that one. I mean, I tried to Steve, Tortorello, myself, and SP3 from True Heel Heat did a preview show. And as we're going down, I said, how can you make predictions? Let's just talk about these matches. Every one of them is a barn burner.
Every match on this show Friday is a main event match anywhere in the country.
It's outstanding. What a return.
Yep.
Now, does this mean that you have not been in the ring? This will be your first time back since the pandemic, or have you gotten a chance to get in anywhere?
I've been in the ring. I've had a few matches back, but this will be my first true test. This will be my first true match back in the ring in front of a big crowd, in front of a big stadium, and I'm just excited. I'm excited about from where I live. We don't have wrestling. Wrestling's kind of barred, the area in the states that I live in. Ohio, the athletic commissions won't let no wrestling at all. Pennsylvania is just barely allowing outdoor events, which is fine. And West Virginia is no man's land. They don't give a shit what you do. Sorry for cursing. Oh. And this is my first. I'm just I said, this is my first. I've done I've done shows, small shows, but this is my first true event back. And I don't think there's any other place to do it other than Chicago, Illinois, man, when we're wrestling.
That's awesome. We're looking forward to it. Now I'm always got to be respectful of the time, especially this late at night, and especially when your battery's running down. So my final question for you, very important. Now, we've just met. You're one heck of a likable guy. I'm rooting for you. And I'm sure everybody watching can't wait to see you. But how can they follow you? How can they follow the Beastman? Be it social media? Do you have merchandise out? How can we support the Beastman?
Well, you can follow me on, you can like my Facebook page, facebook.com /BeastmanHusk. You can follow me on Twitter at BeastmanHusk, Instagram at BeastmanHusk. You can subscribe to my YouTube channel. I'm putting new content out every day, trying to catch up on that. I do have a pro wrestling tee store. It is Beastman. I am a Collar Elbow sponsored athlete. You can go to Collar Elbow and buy some of their merchandise. Type in promo code BeastmanHusk, and I get a little bit of the revenue from that. If you want some of my own personal merchandise, like shirts, bags, I advertise them on my Facebook. Feel free to message me. I'm always willing to cut a deal and help out and get this stuff out of my bag right here. So,
well, maybe we do a Wrestle Rock 86 trade for a shirt or something of maybe lesser value or something. Maybe we'll work a deal out.
You got
But
yourself a deal, brother.
when you say collar and elbow, remember that question that I was lost in the back of my head? We're speaking a lot about Jim Cornette, but obviously with collar and elbow, Al Snow. I don't know if you know Al Snow personally at all, but a lot of his views and stuff on wrestling. Have you seen him when he spoke to somebody? I forgot who it was. You know, what was the match of the night at WrestleMania 3? Because a lot of people argue Steamboat Savage, and he's a good cerebral wrestling thinker. So if you hadn't got a chance to watch a lot of Al Snow shooting on stuff, it's good too.
Well, what was the answer? You got me intrigued.
Oh, he says, you know, the draw of the night was Hogan and Andre.
Mm-hmm.
People bought the tickets for Hogan and Andre. They got that great match out of Steamboat and Savage. But just basically saying you can't go say, oh, that was the draw match. No. The pay-per-view was sold on Hogan and Andre. I'll you know what? I'll find that YouTube clip and send it to you because I'm afraid I don't do Al Snow justice. One of my favorite guys, met him once, like 2015. But the guy was stone cold serious and busy, so we just got a chance to say hello. And I thanked him for letting me rip off all his witty sayings he had on Twitter at one time. Because I would always, everybody like, where'd you get that? And I'm like, I ripped it off from Al Snow. Pretty funny.
Al Snow's a guy that he's willing to help. I was on a show with him early last year in West Virginia, and I asked him to watch my match. It was a 7-minute match, and I learned more from listening to him on how to be better and what little things to do. That the next time I saw him, I did those things, and he was like, "You are 10 times the better worker than I saw you last time." Just by those little things, he's so smart and it's crazy. It's unreal, why he's not, and why he doesn't have a job in WWE as a producer or trainer there. But he's got OVW, so that's the place. He does Wrestling Academy.
And I wish I got the channel that OVW is on, but I'm sure in this day and age of streaming, I'll be able to find it. But
yeah, OVW is I actually did a couple of songs for OVW back in 2011, and that place is a well-oiled machine.
Yeah, I'm excited. Well, I'm excited for Friday Night Lights. I don't know what I don't want to be responsible for keeping you up too late and having you be even more angry coming into the, say it with me, Spartan Stadium Stampede Scramble. Yeah, I mean, it's like a Dr. Seuss book, but
say it 5 times fast.
yeah, there's no way I'll end up cursing or something. So I want to thank you very much for your time. As Beastman camera is going in and out, thank you very much for joining us, and we cannot wait to see you on Friday, Beastman.
Thank you for having me. I can't wait to see you.